We want to go right to the negotiations on Capitol Hill, and Congresswoman Barbara Lee of California joins me now. Congresswoman, thank you for your patience. Really appreciate it. Know how busy you are today. Okay, where are you? Because the latest thing that we've heard is that Senator Manchin has now given some details about what he's looking for in terms of the reconciliation bill. Let me just put it up for everybody. He wants the top line number to be 1.5 trillion. I know the progressives want 3.5 trillion. He wants to begin debate October 1st. In other words, doesn't feel the need, I think, for the deadline today, and he wants to block any funds from the bill being used until the COVID relief funds are exhausted. Has that moved the needle for your side at all?
Let me just say, first of all, thank you for having me. And remember now, we started with our original arrangement deal at over 6 trillion, excuse me. We're down to 3.5 trillion. This is a very tough negotiation because when you look at what his proposal is, I want to know, and I haven't seen this, but what is he willing to give up? Is it child care? Is it the child tax credit? Is it our climate provisions, which are going to create good union green jobs for the green industry? Is it going to be giving up paid family leave? Is it going to be giving up housing when we have so many unhoused people, so many low-income black and brown people yearning for a place to live? And so I don't know what he's talking about in terms of what he's willing to give up, because I have to tell you, we need good paying jobs. We need people to be able to work on these infrastructure projects, and we need women to be able to get back in the workforce. Women can't get back into the workforce, nearly 2 million women, because they can't afford child care. So I'm not sure, and we're still negotiating, I'm not sure what he's willing to give up and who he's willing to give up. Once again, our seniors, they deserve good quality caregiving, and they deserve a decent, affordable place to live. And so we have the care economy in our bill. I don't know if he's willing to give that up or not either.
So, Congresswoman, we're hearing contradictory things. Is Speaker Pelosi still planning to have this vote on the 1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill today, or is that now postponed because of all of these negotiations?
We don't know yet, but I just have to say I'm confident the votes aren't there if it's brought up. And that's why in negotiating for the president's agenda, and remember, this is the president's agenda. This is not the moderates or the progressive agenda, and I hope that we clear that up, because 96% of the Democratic caucus supports the president's agenda. So the speaker's a very good negotiator. I was co-chairing the progressive caucus when we had the Affordable Care Act before us, and I saw how she carried that over the finish line. And so I'm confident that there will be a path forward. What that path is, we'll see.
Would it be helpful to hear more from President Biden about exactly what number or exactly what he would like, since all we keep hearing is that he's meeting with Senators Sinema and Manchin, but sometimes they come out and make it sound as though he's supporting their position too?
Well, I have to tell you, I was in one of the meetings with President Biden last week, and he laid out his agenda, which was what he campaigned on: child tax credit. He campaigned on child care for women, especially, who want to go back into the workforce, on the climate crisis. He campaigned on the care economy, making sure our seniors have good health care and that people who take care of them have a living wage. He talked about all of the pathways out of poverty for people who living below the poverty line, low wealth individuals. He talked about tax cuts for the middle class. So I knew where he was after our meeting. I'm very confident that he's still there, but of course he's in the midst of negotiations, and he's going to have to balance what he thinks he can get with what his goals were initially, and I hope that he sticks with it, and I'm confident that he will until we get both of these bills passed.
Congresswoman, I want to switch gears to something very personal that happened on Capitol Hill today, and that was that you and a couple of your female colleagues shared your abortion stories. You're fighting to keep abortion legal in this country, and you went public by saying that you got pregnant at 16 years old and had an abortion. And it's really, I mean, these stories are heartbreaking to hear what you and, some of your colleagues had to go through as teenagers to make these really tough choices. And I'm just wondering how you feel about having shared your story and why it was important today.
Well, I tell you, I haven't talked about this because it's my own personal business, right? It's private. My mother and I talked. My late mother was unbelievable in her loving care of me and told me whatever decision I made, she would support me. What has happened, and then, of course, as I testified, I was sent to a good friend of hers in El Paso, where I was born and raised. And she knew a very competent doctor in Mexico, but it was a back alley clinic, and I was terrified. But I survived that. And it's really hard to talk about, you know, because so many women, especially black women, died of abortions during that time. And I shared that then, you know, it was you take quinine pills, or you sit in a hot tub of water, or a hanger you use. And let me tell you, what's taking place now in states like Texas, we're going to go back to those days if, in fact, we don't stop these laws and stop allowing these people who don't believe in reproductive freedom to win these battles. This is a personal decision between a person and their health care provider, their clergy member, their parents, whomever. And so it's not about me laying my views on somebody else or someone telling me what I should do or not do. This is about freedom. This is about reproductive freedom. And so I had to do it. I was compelled to do it because I worry that we're going to go back to those days that I know so well of back alley abortions, and women are going to die, and it's going to be black and brown people who are going to die.
How could you not be worried? I mean, you've lived it, and it's not as though unplanned or unwanted pregnancies go away when they pass these draconian bills. They don't. You just have to figure out what to do. And so, having shared it, was it cathartic to share your story?
No, it was very painful, quite frankly, because I'm a private person, and that is so private, and I think that's the point. It's a personal decision. It's a private decision. I haven't talked about it because, like my mother said, Barbara, that's your business. You know, nobody needs to know unless you want to. The stigma around it. I mentioned earlier that I went to Catholic school. I was the first black cheerleader. I was on the honor roll. I played the piano, won 2 music scholarships. The stigma of people knowing about that about me, it was just so overwhelmingly painful. And so it wasn't cathartic. I wrote a book and wrote about this in chapter 6, because that was the most difficult chapter to write. But I've never really talked about it. But I hope that those who really do believe they can control our bodies heard us and said, look, we're not trying to tell you what to do. We just ask you not to tell us that you're going to make your decisions, our decisions for us. And so it was hard. I won't say it was cathartic, but I hope that I'm able to convey to those who are listening the fact that people deserve reproductive freedom and deserve to make their own personal health decisions. And for me to talk about it, because it's so personal for me, is a major step for me.
Congresswoman Barbara Lee, thank you for talking about all of this with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, happening now, the House is voting on a bill to avert a government shutdown. More on this and what Speaker Pelosi is saying